Hello and welcome back to Dodger Debate at the LA Times. I'm the Dodger beat writer Jack Harris, along with our two columnists, Bill Plaschke and Dylan Hernandez, here on what is what do you guys want to call this? Domestic opening day, the home opener, game 3 of the season, whatever it was. The Dodgers came back to LA from their trip in South Korea. They opened the rest of the regular season with a 7-1 win over the St. Louis Cardinals, which was the culmination of what's been a really busy, hectic, confusing week around the team for a lot of different reasons, but a lot of them relating to Shohei Otani and his ongoing gambling and theft scandal with his ex-interpreter Ipe Mizuhara. So, guys, here can be the first debate. Where do you want to start this? You want to talk about Otani and the off-the-field stuff, or do you want to start with what we saw on the field today?
Well, I think Otani was the focus. Dylan, I know, spent some time with Otani today. He should tell us about what that was like.
Before the game, Otani was in the locker room. I just approached him, and again, just pointed out to him that some key questions went unanswered after his, quote unquote news conference the other day. He kind of nodded, said he understood. So I asked him again, the two kind of big questions out there, how did Ipe Mizuhara gain access to his bank account? And how did millions of dollars, in wire transfers go unnoticed by anybody? And he was very polite about it. Very, again, he spoke very matter-of-factly about it. The key point was, what he said. He didn't really say much. Was just, hey, look, I said, up to the extent of what I could say because it's an ongoing investigation, which I guess was kind of expected. But again, what was interesting was just, again, even guys that have kind of like nothing to hide, whatever, I've just kind of noticed over the years, if it's a negative topics, right? You notice guys getting kind of tense. You notice kind of a change in demeanor. And if anything, he was like even like nicer than usual, right? I mean, today what was kind of right, it didn't, and that's kind of the thing, right? Over the last few days, we've kind of seen him, the first day of the Freeway Series, he goes out to visit old Angels teammates and you kind of see him laughing and, when he said goodbye, kind of making these exaggerated waves. After the news conference, on Monday, he went out and played catch, throwing the ball for the first time since he underwent Tommy John surgery. And today, just again, he goes out, right, gets a couple of hits, a double that could have been a triple, hits the hardest, hit ball by a Dodger player since 2021 on that fifth inning single. After the game, slips on the headset, does a interview with NHK of Japan. And again, this is a guy who only used to talk on days he pitched when he was with the Angels, goes back in the clubhouse, basically addresses a press contingent of somewhere between 50 to 100 reporters, and was very, again, even after, again, one of the PR guys called out last question, I kind of yelled something over the top, they were talking, right, the Japanese press is kind of going second, and I was part of that group, and somebody kind of asked him about, where he was in terms of, jet lag and stuff. And, I threw like one last question to him about, exactly how many hours he slept yesterday. And, again, he smiled, he answered it with a smile on his face. So, if this thing is affecting him, he's certainly not showing it at all. Maybe he is completely unaffected by it. Regardless, it does seem that, maybe, whatever is going on there, the on the field stuff and off the field stuff, he's kind of been able to separate. And, just given again, right, Phil Nevin, the Angels former manager, used to call him, right, who used to say he was the strongest minded player he's ever been around. And so, I don't think it's going to, this controversy, whatever, happened and all that stuff, I don't think it's going to affect him. I am starting to wonder, though, will it affect the team? And, Jack, you saw some stuff a little bit after the game.
I mean, to describe the post-game clubhouse scene it was like it almost felt like a packed club in some ways. In some corners of the room, I was trying to do a head count on how many reporters were in there, but somewhere definitely more than 50. I think maybe at times even a little bit closer to 100. You had a lot of cameras in there. Otani is known to not like going into interview rooms. So he wants to do his scrums in the clubhouse, in the middle of the room where they set up a backdrop. And what happened post game is you had, dozens of reporters rush in very quickly after the game ended. And I think for the first time, that scene kind of impacted the rest of the team in a way we haven't seen, right? You had guys coming out of the shower, trying to get changed, and reporters everywhere in every corner of the room, especially if you were around Otani's locker, or if you were in the back corners where Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman get changed, you could tell that guys were uncomfortable with how many people were in there. We're wondering why this wasn't happening in the press conference room with Otani. We're wondering if this is going to be, the new status quo for them this season. And this is something where, when you watch the game today, when you talk to the players this week, as this whole Otani situation has been going on, I think the scandal and uncertainty around the scandal itself isn't going to directly impact guys. Like Freddie Freeman joked that, he's not thinking about Ippei Mizuhara when he's in the batter's box during games. But there's a lot of ancillary things that go along with it. And the longer this kind of drags out, the longer that the questions that Dylan asked him remained unanswered, the more that this just hangs over everything. It might not be a huge deal. Maybe it was just like, this is a one-time thing where you have this huge press corps here for opening day, for the Otani part of all of this. But that is a way that it sort of indirectly impacted players, even in just a small way. And if you're the Dodgers, you obviously don't want that happening on any sort of consistent basis this year. So like, of all the things we saw today, all the on-field stuff, the way that the top of the lineup looked, the way Tyler Glasnow looked, like, it was that post-game clubhouse scene that to me was as sort of resonant as anything that we saw, because we knew the Dodgers were going to be good on the field. I don't think it's surprising that Otani's able to compartmentalize what's happening with the scandal and his own game, but there are some little ways where this could impact the other guys.
Yeah, it was as bad as I've seen it in my 40 years in this town. It was so bad. Clayton Kershaw couldn't get out of the clubhouse. He was trying to, before people were let in, he had to navigate the crowded hall just to get to his car. It's unworkable, and something's gonna have to change. They have to figure something out, because the players aren't gonna put up with it. It was nightmarish in there. People were hyperventilating. It was so bad.
Yeah, and I think like the easy change, right, is like you put Otani in the interview room. A lot of those people aren't going to go in the clubhouse at all because they're just there to have Otani. But like, this is where, how do you balance his personal comfort level versus maybe the convenience sake of the people around the team and the players themselves? And again, it's just like, this is a side effect of this situation, that for all the ways it may or may not be impacting the team, like, this is one that we clearly saw that correlates with what's going on off the field. On top of the fact that, again, because he hasn't answered these questions, people are kind of going to be around waiting for him to, or waiting to see what happens next. And like Plaschke, like you wrote about this, like we haven't, Dylan and I talked about this last week in Korea, but you wrote a column this week saying that, the situation itself still kind of, has you uncertain. Like, how do you kind of view how this is all playing out, what to believe, what not to believe, and kind of where this story may go as more information comes out?
I don't believe any of it. I mean, I'm just uncertain about Otani. I'm not sure what to believe, but something stinks. Some of this whole thing stinks, and hopefully it gets settled sooner than later. But I'm amazed, as Dylan pointed out, I'm amazed as well as he played today. The top three in the order, that's what I wrote about in my column. The big three, I call them dread, doom, and destruction. They're unbelievable.
Who's who?
Mookie was dread, Otani was doom, and Freeman's destruction. So I don't think that's going to stick, but I figured I'd give it a shot. They combined for like to score 6 runs, drive in 5 runs, hit 2 home runs, walks, singles, running the bases. It was unbelievable. They dominated the game, and if they can do that on any kind of semi-regular basis, I mean, this team is going to be very powerful. It's amazing. They were better than anticipated, earlier than anticipated. I was just stunned.
Yeah, watching this game, especially in comparison to the 2 Korea games where there were some sloppy play and sometimes where the offense went really quiet. Like, today is what you're envisioning from this team if you're a Dodgers fan, right? It was the top 3 and really top 4 when you add in Will Smith. Every time they came up, they were creating a threat. They were getting guys on base. They were scoring runs. They were playing the paycheck baseball that Miles Mikolas, the Cardinals starter, had, kind of accused them of or criticized.
Miles Mikolas, who makes $16 million a year.
Checkbook baseball.
Checkbook baseball.
For a guy making $16 million a year. Yeah, right.
Yes, misquote. But like, that's how the offense was supposed to look. And even, the first couple times through the bottom of the order did not look good. And I think that's going to be a concern with this team, big picture. But then the second half of the game, like Max Muncy drove in a run. You saw James Outman get a couple hits. Like, that was a pretty complete performance. coupled with Tyler Glasnow, who, even though he still looks a little off with his command, his curveball hasn't been great. He's put together 2 pretty solid starts. Today's was really strong, going 6 innings, giving up 1 run, striking out 5 guys. Like, this is a team that looked like it had a $1 billion investment this offseason, that had brought in the kind of missing pieces it needed. And that's the thing that, if you're a Dodger fan and you had or a player, and you've gone through this whole kind of hectic spring and this whole Otani story and all these other things kind of leading up to this day, to still have that moment where the team looked as good as it did, where the crowd was as raucous as it was for Otani's introduction and his first at bat, and even when he got thrown out going between second and third base. Like, as far as the baseball part was concerned, I think that today was about as good as you could have hoped for if you're part of the Dodgers.
Yeah, it was crazy, the fact that they started like this. I felt like the Cardinals were out of the game in the first inning. It felt like Dave Roberts called the big 3 daunting, is the word he used, and that's certainly what it was. The Cardinals were daunted early. I mean, it seemed like after they were down 2-0, felt like 10-0. Felt like the game was over after the first inning because the big 3 just put it to them.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is you walk one of these guys, and it just kind of starts to snowball pretty quickly from there, you know. So, yeah, I think this team's going to score a ton of runs. I mean, we didn't really see. I mean, I guess today, right? Give him credit for playing good defense, I guess, you know.
There's an error by Mookie.
Yeah, Mookie made an error.
Shortstop.
But outside of that, against a guy who's fast, bad throw, I think, you know, again, like, Dylan and I were far less effusive in our praise the last time we talked about this team. But, like, there were still concerns, right? Like, the bottom of the lineup, the first couple times through, did not look very good. I think the defensive machinations, especially as it relates to Mookie at shortstop and Gavin Lux at second, and where does Miguel Rojas fit into all that? That's a question. When Yoshinobu Yamamoto makes the start on Saturday, I think that's going to be a really big game to watch, to see, you know, if what happened in Korea was a fluke, if there's bigger concerns about his ability to transition to the majors. Like, those are all things that are still in the background, on top of all of the other Otani-related off-field drama. But again, we hadn't seen how this team would look playing at its best yet, and today at least was sort of like that proof of concept, right? That if you put these 3 superstars at the top of the lineup, if you have, you know, a true frontline talent kind of pitcher atop the rotation, that when things are clicking, you can look really dominant. And even against a team like the Cardinals that is trying to compete for the playoffs and isn't, you know, that's not going to be a last place team. Like you said, Plaschke, like, within the first 10 minutes of this game, it absolutely felt over based on the way Glasnow was pitching, based on the way the top of the lineup mowed through Mikolas their first time through. And I think also just based on the environment here and how invigorated this crowd seemed to be able to see this team in person for the first time.
Guys, we're going to have to come up with a nickname for these 3 players. I don't know if Doom, Dread, and Destruction is going to work, but something's got to. We got to come up with something. But ask the readers, ask the viewers, ask the listeners. Send us your ideas.
Yeah,
we can't call them the big 3. That's like basketball. That's it. That's LeBron and Bosh and Dwayne Wade. We can't call them the big 3. That's
the MV3.
That's pretty good.
Not bad. That's pretty good.
You know, this is going better than when we tried to name this podcast thing. Remember
Dodgers,
that?
yeah, I'm still not. Every time you say Dodger debate at the beginning of this, like, I always kind of cringe, to be honest.
I like it. No, I think the podcast we're doing good. I'd sleep on Dread, Doom, and Destruction. Sleep on that.
All right.
I don't know. I'm thinking
put
maybe
it in the comments.
Maybe we should rename this thing the Dodgers Potscast after
Potscast.
After our producer Mark Potts.
That is good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still not sold on Dodger debate. I'm sorry, guys.
I like Dodger debate. I think it works good. You guys do a great job.
We're not really debating here. We're all in agreement.
We will debate during the season. There will be much debate.
Yeah.
Because Dylan, you're going to back Otani at all costs.
Yeah, today's was easy. The Dodgers look good. This Otani stuff is not adding up. Like, we were in agreement on this one.
In Japan, I'm known now as a notorious Otani hater now. These people are killing me on Twitter.
I'm sure our American readers will be shocked to learn that.
Dylan
being mean.
Otani, I heard Otani hired a new defense team, Hernandez and Hernandez.
He's very polite. He's very polite. No comment. All right. Well, we're like I think we've mentioned before, we're going to do these periodically throughout the year. So keep checking back to the LA Times YouTube page, and obviously to our website, where there is a whole lot of news and stories related to the team, related to the scandal, and kind of everything else going on around the Dodgers that we have
Read
there.
Dylan's
So
column.
yeah,
Read Dylan's column tomorrow. I'm sure it's tremendous. Read his column.
Oh, it's already up.
Read it.
Look at that.
there you go.
We were quick.
The magic of the internet.
Magically. All
All right. Well, for
Thank
Dylan,
you. And thank you to Mark
Plaschke.
Potts, who's sick and still doing this for us. So get well, Potts.
Thank Potsy. Get well soon.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you guys next time.